Hello and welcome to another episode of New Game Plus. I am joined by Megan. My name is Jason. And again, we've covered it for a while now, but it's been a really, despite the E3 gap, and it usually is the E3 gap, there's been so many games you may have missed that we're still playing catch up.
It's crazy. I dream of quitting my full-time job just to catch up and play these things 9 to 5. Yeah. What about the money?
Good luck with that. Game journalism, there's lots of money in it, don't worry about it. But we are talking about some very cool games.
Yeah,
so we've got Street Fighter 30th anniversary. You have a great interview with Mr. ROF himself.
You have to check it out. We're getting into the esports community here in Melbourne, and yeah, Christian joins me on the seats. It's not a couch. Yeah. Joins me for a really great breakdown of
would have been an easy
Battle Arena Melbourne.
That's right,
yeah. It was awesome. You have to check it out.
And we also have Vampyr as well, another one from you. You've been a busy beaver this last few things. But I guess the big one we are going into first is Street Fighter 30th anniversary. And I wonder if this would have existed in a world where Monster Hunter World didn't make them, X amount of money.
I'm totally fine with that. Essentially, the incredible amount of sales of Monster Hunter across the world is 8 million.
8 million, I believe.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And now they're doing a crossover with Final Fantasy, bringing a Rathalos into the universe.
So it's been huge, and obviously they're known for nostalgia merchants. They're known for selling all their old games cheap, and they've just started the Resident Evil 2 remake, which looks awesome, like the full redux of the game. And it's interesting, and Devil May Cry 5, but I wonder if Devil May Cry 5 exists in a world without Monster Hunter, because suddenly they have money. Suddenly they can start producing these games again.
It's a vicious cycle, I think, but it's really exciting that launching with Devil May Cry as well. That trailer looked schmick, very shiny.
Very keen on, we've always been a big Devil May Cry fans here, so we're really super keen to see what they can do with it. And I don't know, I'm glad to see Capcom's, they do have great properties. I mean, they stuffed up Street Fighter, let's be real.
They've really picked up a lot of ground there.
Arcade edition, it fixed nearly all the issues. They didn't want to do an arcade edition, then they did one. It's now you actually made the proper game. Great, isn't it? So let's go into it. Street Fighter 30th anniversary review up now. Now, everybody knows what fighting games are. You've played them. You've played Mortal Kombat. You've played Tekken. There's this little game around that's been around for a while actually. It's called Street Fighter. Capcom, little Japanese company, made it. Haven't heard of it much before now, but apparently it's been around for 30 years. So they've decided to release a 30th anniversary collection. I brought Shane in because I've never heard of any of these games. Have you ever heard of Street Fighter?
I love the sarcasm, Jason.
What sarcasm? What are we talking about?
Very much sarcasm.
Oh, well, look, all right.
Okay.
So, Street Fighter, this really is the kind of definitive Street Fighter collection. As in, it literally gives every mainline Street Fighter game from 1 through to 3, and all variants of, to date.
Yeah. So, and would you even include Alpha in the main series? I guess it is.
Yeah, it's still a main series.
So it also includes Alpha, so you've got Alpha 2,
so it's literally
Alpha 3.
1, the 5 versions of 2, World Warrior Hyper Fighting Championship, Turbo, whatever. Alpha 1, 2, 3, Street Fighter 3, first standard.
It's next generation,
second impact,
third strike.
Third Strike obviously being one of the most well-known and well-loved and still played today at a reasonable level fighting games that there is. And I guess that is always the hard part of doing these collections is a lot of these games won't age as well as you remember. And some of them are there on as pure memes. The Street Fighter, of course, the original Street Fighter, you played as Ken or Eagle, based on which side you were on. The buttons were pressure sensitive. You actually had to hit them hard and I've played it once when I was on a trip to Japan, and you actually have to hit it hard. I'm not a small boy and I'm not scared to hit things, and even I had to slam it down and do a whole thing. But only Ryu can do fireballs. So it was it's a meme, right? The only reason it's on there is for the meme to say, hey, here's this thing you probably never played before.
It's also slightly different controls because you don't have pressure controls on you.
It depends how bad you are at the game, but I guess the main ones that you'll be playing on this if you're playing at any kind of competitive space. Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, either Alpha 2 or Alpha 3, and it'll just depend on what day, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
So those 3 are the ones, except for Alpha 2, are the 3 you can actually play multiplayer. So you're restricted to 3 games in multiplayer.
Online multiplayer.
Online multiplayer. So you're restricted to Third Strike, Turbo, or Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Alpha 3.
Which, again, are the ones that still have some presence in the scene. They're the ones that are the esports ones. But I mean, that said, of itself, it's still a reasonable value pickup for that. There's still a lot of fun to be had, but you probably bought these games already, whether on 360 or been on. There's
that as well as the kind of the thing that it comes with actually issues with it. You come into a multiplayer game, and sometimes there is a really cool thing where you can actually choose your game. So like if you go into a lobby, the lobby will say these 3 games are choosable.
Yeah.
You then verse opponent and you both choose a game, and if it's the same game, you go into that game. If it's 2 different games, it'll like 50-50 toss.
Yeah, right.
And it'll choose one game. The problem is though, is sometimes after that choice, you go into the game and you get a black screen.
Nice.
Just a black screen.
Yeah,
you don't get anything.
So it's standard netcode, Capcom netcode.
It's kind of Capcom netcode on a 30th anniversary. So basically, like, all of the stuff you can remember from the really bad glitches of the old games, not fixed.
And that is the other thing as well. You remember that in those days there were hardware limitations. There were genuine physical limitations to what they could actually accomplish in a game, and they will still exist. And you'll forget that they were a thing. Like, oh, that's right. Like, and so there are those moments like that. That said, if you already own Third Strike, if you already own those games, I mean, maybe don't pick it up. But at the same time, I think value for money is there. Like, it's got the great games. It's in the one spot. You know.
Yeah, even if you have picked them up, you're probably going to move to this just for the online community.
So it's got Switch, PS4, all the different consoles as well, which always helps. So I don't know, definitely worth a look. And you can realize how bad you are at Third Strike.
Pretty bad.
So the Australian esports scene is booming right now, and I've been to a few tournaments recently, so I've decided to do a bit of a series on influencers, esports players and other gamers in the scene to get an inside scoop on what it's like to be part of the Australian scene. Next to me here on the couch, for the first time in the New Game Plus studio, is Christian, and his gamer tag is ROF, and he plays Street Fighter. And recently we've been to Evo Japan together, and Battle Arena Melbourne 10, who, if you've seen my amazing segment, I filmed that all weekend. That was solid. But I wanted to get the behind the scenes information about what it's like to play professionally in Australia against like really famous players in Street Fighter.
Thank you.
Welcome. What's it like being in the studio for the first time?
It's really bright.
Very bright.
Got to get used to the lighting, but I think I'll manage. I think I'll pull through and I'll give you a good interview.
Thank you. It's cozy. Very nice. I can't wait to pick your brain. We've known each other for a while now and travelled to Japan together. And I guess I wanted to know a little bit about your history playing the game and how long you've been playing Street Fighter for. And what was the moment you seriously decided to pursue it?
Yeah, so I guess the first game that I played in Street Fighter series was Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha.
Amazing.
So that was the one on the PlayStation 1. So I got that when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and then bought it, got on PlayStation 1, played, had no idea what I was doing.
Yep.
Just mashing, getting blisters on my thumbs.
The gateway drug, PlayStation.
Just enjoying the heck out of it, and then that's what got me started. Okay,
and I guess that's many moons ago now, and you played all the other Street Fighter games through the evolution, and just now we're here.
Yes.
What other characters did you take a liking to over time?
So in Alpha, I think it was Guile, just because of his theme song in that game.
Yes.
That was awesome. The next game, surprisingly, in the Street Fighter series that I played was 4. So after that, I completely forgot about Street Fighter. Didn't even realize it existed until like 2010.
Yeah, took a break.
And then I got addicted to Jury.
Excellent.
Wonderful
character. She's a bae.
Yeah,
very
she's
gorgeous.
They've ruined her now.
Yeah.
But
they've ruined a lot of characters.
Yeah. So now it's Birdie.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. I mean, it's a very different character to all those you've played before. What drew you to him to pursue him seriously?
Well, first I actually played Mika. I tried to give her a shot. Didn't really fit my mold, and then I saw one Japanese player, Crusher, who he goes by the name of Crusher, played Daigo, and he beat Daigo in a set 10-0.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I want to do this with this character, because it looks stupid. It looks hilarious.
That chain and the donuts and stuff?
Yeah.
But wasn't he, when he first came out, he was OP?
I don't think...
so was Mika. I think a lot of them were at first.
And I don't really think anybody really complained about Birdie compared to like Mika, Chun-Li, Ryu, those top 3 characters. Birdie was really just like not really talked about, not really had any attention because nobody played him as well.
Yeah, okay. So no one really knew how to play against him.
Yeah, and I did, and then on the other side of that as well, nobody really knew how to play him.
Okay.
Because there weren't really a lot of like expert and top level players who were able to, I guess, expand on the character and utilize its strengths. Yeah.
Do you study people playing your character so you can better match up when you play in tourneys and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So like probably one of the few people I watch is Mena. I try to use my play style and mix that with his as well, because I feel like ours are very similar, very aggressive.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, I guess other birdie players in Australia who don't really do anything and just like to hold down back in the corner.
Oh, wait, okay. So who's your worst character matchup then?
The worst character matchup I'd say is probably going to be Guile. It's very hard to pick between Minat and Guile, but I think it's Guile.
Minat's the one with the beautiful ball.
That's
yeah,
right.
she's gorgeous.
The annoying ball, not the beautiful ball. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Guile. He just throws sonic booms, and the recovery on that is so quick. He's plus on block if you block it. So Birdie just moves so slow, a slow jump. So he only really gets a chance until he gets V-Trigger.
What about Bison? You played against Som on the weekend at Gfinity in Sydney, which was one of the massive Australian esports majors, which is like really exciting. You seem to be becoming second to Som a lot recently. How's that feel?
Well, I think we're really even on the scores.
Okay.
I beat him at PAX. I took him out of PAX,
Excellent.
which was, I guess, what
Love
sort of is. Yeah. Hey man, it happens. Sorry, man. Which I guess sort of sparked his sort of like way of trying to beat me, which I understand completely. You know, like I just came in and I just pretty much was losing to him 2-0 down. He was on match point.
Yeah.
And I reverse 3-0'd him. So I can't blame him for the salt that he did have on that day.
I believe it.
I'm glad you did have a bit of salt in you. But yeah, he sort of sparked that interest in him to like learn how to play against me. So he got me back at SXC, which was very close. It was like last round as well, final game 2. And then Cyber Gamer, I got him back.
Yeah.
And then he got me back in the grand final. So it's honestly back and forth between us two.
Love that. I think someone's always in those top 3 finals, like all the time.
Well, yeah, he's got I think 10 years experience under his belt. I've only been in this for like 9 months. So when I think about how long I've been in it compared to him, I'm really happy with where I am at the moment.
Do you analyze frame data?
Yes, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
like you need to know when to press buttons, when not to press buttons. So, but sometimes you have to press buttons when you shouldn't press buttons.
Okay.
That's the mix-up. That's like the read you have to have on your opponent.
Yeah. Always be one step ahead, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. You travel like so much; it's ridiculous. Even if it's just like around Australia, but you also go international as well. How do Australian majors compare to interstate tourneys? International tourneys.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Gosh.
I was going to say OHN and BAV. No.
Yeah.
Well,
You went to. Did you go SEAM?
no, I did not. No.
Okay.
I actually haven't really performed a lot overseas.
Okay.
The only time I did was in Evo Japan. So I can only go off that experience, but I guess the local competition is good for the locals here because the internationals come
It's like
down.
next level having international competition. They're like a totally different breed here, I reckon.
Yeah, it's good for the scene to grow.
Yeah.
The differences between local and international is just that internationally there's going to be harder players to play against. So be prepared and be prepared to lose because players of that caliber don't really exist in Australia, but we'll get there eventually, I'm sure of it.
I think we're on the up. Like honestly, now that Twitch is putting a lot of money behind the local community and everything too, I think it's going to be massive in a couple of years' time.
I agree.
If not now.
Yeah. I'm going to make that happen for Street Fighter.
How do you do you analyze your own personal performance like after a game or? What's the process?
Yeah, you really need to understand what went wrong.
Okay.
Did
you have to watch it back or?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't really like to watch, the matches I lose in, but you have to.
Okay.
It gives you a bad taste in your mouth, but it's something you got to do. It has to happen. There's no other way you're going to learn because then you can go, oh, at this point I didn't do this, or at this point I wasn't doing that. Why? Oh, because I just wasn't thinking about doing it. So you got to start to think on the fly, adapt, and utilize that.
Love that. I guess one big reason why I've invited you here today is to really give our audience and our viewers a little bit of an insight about what it's like to be part of an esports team. And I guess I really want to know what kind of advice you'd give people that are aspiring to be part of a crew like that. I mean, did you get poached or were you scouted or what was the process and how does someone else get there?
If I was to give tips or advice to people, just find a game that you love and then get really good at it.
Okay.
If you want to be a esports player, it's just a simple matter of fact that get good.
Yeah, get good.
Because then nobody's going to really notice your talent in the game.
Okay.
So for me, it all started at PAX, where I was actually, I think the only person I lost to was BK.
BK
So
yeah.
I annihilated everyone, and then everybody was like, wow, who's this guy, you know? And then I was like, it's me, ROF, don't forget.
That's it. But also your jersey's like bright yellow and orange, and you wear these awesome sunnies.
That was after PAX.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, like due to PAX.
Yeah, and now you have a brand image to uphold.
Yeah. People, masterminds, thank you, shout out to masterminds. They recognized my talent and then they picked me up. So like I said, just find a game that you love.
Yeah.
Don't try and play a game that you don't like. So like, for example, if you see like Fortnite where it's like so much money, but if you don't really enjoy it, you're not really going to get to that spot that you need to be.
Cool.
So number one, find the game that you love. Number two, just keep practicing and don't give up.
And I guess just to conclude this amazing interview, I want to know what's up next for you and how can people find you on socials and everything like that?
What's next is winning Gfinity. I'm going to be winning that with my mastermind duo teammate Travis Styles, who's also signed with Order.
Nice one.
So we got that in the bag. Guys, watch it.
Nailed
Just
it.
watch the stomp. It's going to be really cruisy.
Amazing.
You can find me on Twitter at MGCROF. So that's my Twitter handle. You might see a few nice little videos that Sly Will from New Zealand has posted with our journey at Mastermind. So yeah, that's my goal. It's just essentially putting Australia on the map in terms of Street Fighter V competitiveness. That's always been my number one goal, showcasing to the world that we can actually compete with top level players. I
actually couldn't agree more. If Battle Arena Melbourne is anything to go by, it's only going to get bigger and better from here. But I just want to say thanks so much for making the trip to come down to the studios.
No
and
problem.
thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks.
In a post-Twilight universe, it's great to see vampires come back in the limelight once again. I mean, just take a look at some of the games that we have to offer. Bloodstained, the animation season of Castlevania is finally getting its second and third season. There's so much to love if you're a vampire fan. It's why I brought Megan along here with me, two of the most palest and beautiful people in the New Game Plus universe,
Absolutely.
here to talk about Vampyr, Don't Nod's latest action RPG adventure.
Excellent. We're very qualified. I actually was super surprised by this game. It added so much value and really blew me out of the water. I didn't know what to expect and went in with a clean slate, and I'm extremely, extremely impressed. I could lose so many hours to this game and I don't regret a single minute. It was exciting.
So we'll give a bit of a rundown. As I mentioned before, Vampyr is an action RPG. You step into the shoes of Jonathan Reed, a physician, a doctor by trade.
He specialises in blood transfusions.
Oh wow,
Wink.
what a coinky-dink. And he wakes up in a mass grave within the town of London and is chased off by a bunch of vampire hunters.
He's returned from the war after serving as a doctor over there, and he wakes up from being unconscious, suddenly craving blood and not understanding and having this overwhelming lust, and the first person he comes across is his sister who's welcoming him home. So tragic, and it's one of those things that you're instantly engrossed in and trying to help him discover what's happened to him since he's returned and the rest of it.
And it's an old tale of vengeance as well. So you sit there going like, someone must have done this to me. Someone must have turned me into a vampire. And his lust for vengeance only overcomes his lust for blood. And that's one of the moral quandaries that this game kind of comes into, where it's an action RPG. So you sit there and you fight enemies utilizing specific abilities. They have their cooldowns, and you utilize blood as like an MP meter. And the game kind of scales in the sense depending on how many people you'd like to kill and how many people you want to spare. And I find that, I'm not too sure how you exactly played the game, but I played the game being a total vampiric pacifist. I didn't want to kill anyone.
Neither, because if you don't kill people, it keeps the narrative of all the civilians' lives open, so you can still explore and find out more about the town in each district as you play. If you murder somebody in the town, if you gain their confidence and their trust, you actually get like quadruple the amount of XP to upskill as a vampire than you would if you were just killing bad guys, basically. And if you do kill someone, their narrative shuts off and it sort of stops you from progressing on that side of the game. But
and it really opens up a lot of realm of possibility, especially when you're playing and you're speaking to your friends about it, because everyone goes a completely different route. There's only one save file as well, so actions do have very heavy consequences. Once you make that choice, you have to follow through. You can't save scum, and I find the one save slot to not be a limiting experience, but a far more immersive one.
I agree. The trophies and the achievements in this game are impossible to get through one playthrough because of those reverting back to save files. It's quite difficult, but there's a lot of exploration to do in this game, and each district, depending on the amount of people you kill, like the bad guys and the good guys, really balances out how many vampire hunters and other demon skull there are that invade each district.
And it's one of the issues that I have with games like this, where you have the moral compass, where it seems like a binary choice, where it's like, haha, Mass Effect, you have the Paragon and you have the Renegade choices, and they're very obvious. Vampire, on the other hand, it's a far more kind of wide spectrum, in the sense that if you do the wrong thing and you accidentally, there's a certain action that I did in a game where a certain character dies, and
Painful. What did you do?
It's very painful. So I managed to wipe their memory completely. They ended up dying, and they owned a lot with a bunch of other Romanian immigrants.
Right.
And as she got mad and she basically turned crazy, turned into a vampire, that drove all the other Romanian immigrants out of that area, and I made everyone homeless. And it got to the point where I sat there going, is it right for me to maybe mercy kill everyone that's homeless because they could fall to the Spanish flu or illness?
Yeah.
Like, things like that, we think about it, and it just causes this chain reaction of you feel extremely bad. And it really drives the point home, and it's very effective in its premise. And genuinely, the civilian part of dealing with all the side content and learning about all the characters as you go, I feel is probably the most strongest element of Vampire.
Absolutely, in true Don't Nod style. But one thing I think really stands out in this game is the combat and the crafting. So as you do explore the world, you get to pick up loot, which essentially helps you make medicine to help civilians healthier, or upgrade your weapons, or upgrade, I think it was, there's like just other serums and things like that you can do. But also the combat's really in depth, where it's kind of like a Bloodborne style, not the same, but it's like your stamina gets drained, and as you keep fighting you lose blood, so you have to kill the bad guys to replenish, and it's just a really in-depth immersive experience.
Now I have a bone to pick with you on that one, because I find the combat to be very jarring. I feel it's the weakest point, so this is where we kind of diverge. Because I feel it's a little bit more in the sense of The Witcher, where you either love it or you absolutely hate it. But regardless, I feel that Vampire still stands on its own. If you kind of look at it and adjust your expectations from rather a AAA game and treat it more like an indie/AA title, I find that you'll have a hell of a lot of time and you'll be genuinely surprised with the quality of Vampire.
You have to check it out. It's definitely worth the money.
Now, das Vampyr.
I love that game.
It.
Yes, massive fan.
Have you played many Don't Nod games before now?
I'm well versed with the Don't Nod vibes. It's one of my favorite dev companies that whatever they make, I'll grab it, I'll buy it.
It is one of those for me as well, where I'm like, there's a few companies you list the names, like, cool, whatever they make, Rocksteady, there's a bunch of them, and like, as soon as they're like, I trust them to at least make a game, and even if it's not my favorite game, to at least be engaging enough for me to enjoy it.
They specialize in beautiful environments and really immersive dialogue, which I'm happy to sit back and really immerse myself into.
That's what they do, worlds. They're world builders.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Some companies are better than others, and I think companies that don't do it are better off not focusing on it, making easy-going kind of like real precision kind of games. But when you do build a world, that's where you notice the Don't Nod curse.
And Jonathan Reed's beard, he's got the best hair. He's very, very suave. But it was an excellent game.
I feel personally attacked. That's okay. But that's all right. So, like, no, and I think that's the thing. It's interesting because they went from Life is Strange, which was very much walk around, and obviously Life is Strange, great game. And they went back to this, which has actual active combat. And it was an interesting move for them because Remember Me was a great game, but it wasn't the fighting that you were playing Remember Me for.
I was really happy with the type of combat in this game. It was everything I needed it to be. And now they're talking about Captain Spirit being a free game when it launches to be the sequential joining for the next Life is Strange story chapter.
Which, and that's what I loved. Again, they build worlds and they explore them. And I think that's probably my biggest bugbear with Last of Us. As cool as it looks and as much as we saw in the trailer, it was like, oh, that looks really great. The universe exists outside of Joel and Ellie. Their story was done. You didn't need to retell it.
Right.
Make it about someone else in that universe. Obviously, still have Joel and Ellie as like heads of the tribe or whatever. I don't care.
They've definitely left it very mysterious. I'm looking forward to finding out more.
So, but yeah, I just think it was a wasted opportunity. But look, that's what we do. Either way, some very good games that you still get for right now. Go out and check them out. But that is the end of another episode. NewGamePlus.tv, don't forget to check us there. And then it's what? It's
YouTube,
Twitter,
Instagram, Twitch.
Facebook, I don't know, what's the rest? What else? We're online. We are online.
Yep, check out our website. We wrote up all these reviews on E3.
So New Game Plus TV. And that is a wrap. Megan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you as always.
And we'll see you guys next time.